Today I'm taking a quick detour into NotebookLM and some of its really great features for writers and creatives. Picture this for a second. You've got, like I do, a pretty massive manuscript, around 100 pages, and you want to turn that into something visual, basically book to video. The problem is, with tools like Nano Banana Pro, Kling, Midjourney, or others, you can't just drop a text of that size in as a prompt. I tested it, and honestly, I don't want to go page by page and handcraft every single prompt either. What I also don't need are classic infographics that squeeze the entire source context into one big visual, usually packed with text. Sure, with the right style, those results can look impressive, like you're seeing right now. But for actual video work, that doesn't really help. What I actually need is an overview that shows the full story at a glance, in reusable formats, without all the extra clutter, something that works as a visual storyboard for video production. That's where the X-panel grid comes in. A grid made up of 20 clear, meaningful scenes, all perfectly aligned in a consistent layout, visualizing the first act of the story, generated using the Infographic feature. NotebookLM does have a so-called video overview too, but let's be honest, that presentation is about as generic as it gets. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to build these usable grid layouts yourself with NotebookLM, and it doesn't stop there. From that grid, we turn the same visuals into a slide deck, using identical scenes but displayed as full-screen images. That's where NotebookLM really shines. For every task, it pulls directly from the source material you provide. And the cleaner and better prepared your sources are, the stronger the results get. I'll also walk through the platform itself later on, in case you're not fully familiar with it yet. And if you want the exact prompts I'm using, just drop a comment. By the way, you don't have to run this for the entire book right away. You can scale it down to a single act, a chapter, a scene, or even just one page, and then use those images as modular pieces inside a larger film, instead of trying to do everything at once. Now let's get to the actual core of this. How do you build a 20-panel grid infographic? Over on the left in sources, you can see all my collected material from a pretty extensive book project. One of those files already contains a full scene breakdown I created earlier with ChatGPT. But honestly, you don't even need to prep that much. You can just ask NotebookLM directly to create the 20 scenes for you. Keep it simple. Something like, you've got my data, create 20 solid scenes, and pay attention to camera and atmosphere. NotebookLM will then generate a surprisingly tight interpretation of your sources, usually split into 4 logical sections, complete with source references. That's already really good, but there's one small catch. The AI has no idea what your character actually looks like. So this is where you need to sharpen the prompt and lock things down with character constraints. Define as much as you possibly can. In my case, I've got 2 main characters, so I need to define both the human and the creature directly in the prompt. Ideally, you'd also add reference images. But here comes the big warning. NotebookLM is extremely sensitive when it comes to photos that show faces. It will block a lot of things. My original photo got rejected, same with a 3D version. Only the drawing version went through. Surreal creatures, on the other hand, are totally fine. To balance that out, I drop in a very detailed written description instead. It starts with, "These are the mandatory requirements," and includes the line they must be applied strictly and consistently throughout. And NotebookLM actually follows that. That's how you lock in the foundation. Next step, click the edit icon on Infographic. You can ignore the language setting, because the prompt we're about to use explicitly prevents any text from being added anyway. Orientation needs to be landscape. For level of detail, you can go with standard or detailed. Since there's no text involved, detailed usually works just fine. If something feels off, just rerun it with standard. Now comes the key move. In the field where it says describe, you paste in the prompt that defines the grid layout. After that, all that's left is to hit generate. One more quick trick while we're here. If the more photographic look isn't your thing, there's an easy way around it. Just download the image and open it in Google Flow, then use Nano Banana Pro to explore and dial in a different style. I'm showing a few solid examples on screen while I'm talking, just to give you an idea of how far you can push it. And yes, you can absolutely take that 20-panel grid and turn it into a video. The move here is simple. Feed the grid into Kling 3.0 using image to video, and those 20 individual scenes get animated into a single clip. In my case, it works right away, which honestly surprised me a bit. Still, don't treat that as a guarantee. Results can vary, but when it works, it's a pretty clean shortcut. Alright, now we've got our 20-panel grid, but we're not stopping there. Open that infographic and download it to your desktop. Super easy. Just hit the 3 dots in the top right. Take that image, save it as a PDF. I renamed mine while I was at it, and then upload it back into NotebookLM using Add Sources. Boom, you've got a new reference file. In my case, it's called Guidelines for the slide deck. Next up, we want every single image from that grid to live on its own slide. First thing, click Select All Sources and turn everything off. Then only enable the file you just uploaded. Mine's called Template. From now on, NotebookLM will only use that single file as its source. Now head over to the studio asset called Slide Deck. Click the edit icon there as well, choose Detailed Deck as the format, keep the length on default, and in the Describe field drop in a prompt that basically says, here's my grid. Turn each panel into a full screen image. Hit Generate again. I like doing a side-by-side check here. Grid on the left, slides on the right. You'll see right away that it works really well. Scroll through the slide deck all the way to the end and check the flow. If it's not exactly what you want, say there's still text showing up somewhere. No problem. Go back into the studio, click the 3 dots on the right and choose Revise. That opens the slide deck in editor mode. Now you can give specific prompts for each individual slide, like remove the text. Down in the bottom right, you'll see the page number. Click through the slides and apply the changes wherever needed. In the Pending Changes section, you'll see exactly what's queued up. If you change your mind, just delete the prompt from the input field. Once you're happy, hit Generate New Deck. Quick side note on NotebookLM itself, because there's a newer feature here that really levels things up. Doesn't matter if your material is 100% your own or a mix of different sources, you can drill down super precisely into whatever angle you're actually interested in. If you look at the chat in the middle of the interface, you'll always see your prompt on the right and the AI response on the left, including source references marked with numbers. Underneath that, NotebookLM usually suggests 3 follow-up questions or actions. That's where things get powerful. This lets you steer the whole process very deliberately. You can push specific aspects, ignore everything else, and only translate exactly that focus into an infographic. In a way, you're walking the path together with the AI and slowly locking in what you actually want. For example, if I type something like create an infographic that specifically focuses on the Tenebrae and use a Japanese manga style, this is what I get. If I just hit the infographic button instead, the result is way more generic and unspecific. Let me zoom out for a second and show you how NotebookLM actually works from the ground up. Open NotebookLM and click Create New Notebook in the top left, or just hit the white Create New button in the top right. You'll land in an untitled notebook, and right away it'll ask you to add data. You've got a few options here. You can search your Google Drive or the web, either in fast or deep mode, or you can just drop in your own files. There's an input field for custom sources, and you can drag and drop your material straight in. The moment you do that, NotebookLM starts validating and processing the documents. And yeah, it supports a ton of different formats, so you're pretty flexible there. Once that process is done, your data tank is basically fully loaded. NotebookLM gives you a short summary of what it pulled from your sources. You can think of that as the teaser for the whole project. Right below it, you'll see those 3 follow-up actions, again, that I mentioned earlier. Just above that text, there's a slightly weird-looking icon. Click it and pick a different symbol from the drop-down if you want. If you need to add more source material, that's easy too. Just hit Add Sources in the top left. And if you ever run into an upload error, chances are there are faces visible in the data. NotebookLM is pretty strict about that. Quick look over to the right side, where all the assets live. NotebookLM gives you this 9-tile grid with different formats you can generate. There's audio overview, basically a podcast, slide deck, a multi-page presentation. Video overview, which is pretty basic. Mind map, kind of a visual site map. Report for text summaries. Flashcards for key topics. Quizzes for quick knowledge checks. Infographics for diagrams and visuals. And data tables, basically an Excel-style output. Google will most likely expand these presets over time. There are tons of use cases you can already imagine here, like animations, for example. If you just click one of those buttons, the AI will run a default action, all based on your data. Wherever you see that little pencil icon, that's your edit entry point. This is where you can steer the output with a proper prompt. Take Infographic as an example. You can set the language, define the format, and choose the level of detail. Options are low, normal, or detailed. Detailed tends to overload things a bit, which can lead to text issues showing up in the visuals. Below that is the prompt field. This is where you really take control of the output, whether that's defining a specific style or locking down the layout. And for us, that layout control is the key part. Once everything's set, just hit generate. Mind maps are actually great when you're dealing with complex books, websites, or big presentations and want to break things down visually. Reports give you solid summaries. Flashcards and quizzes are more on the playful side, good for quick learning or just messing around. The video overview is pretty basic though, and honestly, as someone who works in this space a lot, it's not something I'd really use. What's genuinely interesting is the audio overview, basically a podcast. Click the edit icon there and you'll get an interface where you can dial in the format, language, length, and focus, and the results can be surprisingly entertaining. I uploaded a whole set of data from an incident report about a rockfall on the Goldfield Highway in Australia and just listened to it. Really engaging. Even better, I tried something else where I uploaded 5 editor text files, each containing just a single short sentence, or even just one word. So basically, no real content at all. And still, the AI made something out of it. If you feel like experimenting, go have fun with it. NotebookLM is genuinely impressive. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. See you soon. Your channel, AI Now You Know.